Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and welcome to part two of my interview with Mike Nottelmann of the Coin Show podcast, where we talk about social media matters and the coin collecting market. Remember, what matters here is if you click on that like button and hit subscribe, it does help the show out. If you missed the first interview, go ahead and click on the link that's on your screen. It's also there in the description. All right, enjoy. Well, let's jump into social media in general and coin collecting because it ties into a realm that we're both into a little bit here. So you and Matt have the Coin Show podcast, and you guys are on YouTube, and you have your own. I almost said GoFundMe page, the Patreon page.
Yes.
Also, now you guys have been tied into Facebook for quite some time. Also, is that correct?
We've
Now,
been
this
on
is
Facebook
this is
almost since the beginning.
an extension of, or completely different from what you do with the Coin Show podcast.
No, it is an absolute extension. It was intentional. We did the Coin Show quote fan page um, from the time that we started the show because we wanted to have a social media place where we could put it out there. We also have a Twitter page. We're on Instagram. We are not on TikTok. And here's the thing: there's a guy on TikTok, and he has at the Coin Show, which is our handle every place, and he's got like 1.3 million followers. So it's
Is
like,
that
hey,
right?
you know,
But
and he's
but he doesn't
absolutely
do.
fine with us.
Does he do coin stuff?
He does. He does these quick. Well, it's TikTok, right? So he does these quick 60-second videos where it's like,
Oh,
this is a penny that sold for $13,000. This is how you can figure it out, and he gives you a very, very vague, basic,
but
you know,
okay. And maybe this is an unfair question. Maybe you haven't looked close enough into this guy, but does he actually give accurate information, or is it
his
all
information is accurate,
okay?
but
My, right.
it's vague and it's not particularly detailed, mostly because of the format limitations.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. One of the things with the modern media sources, the information gathering sources that we're talking about, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, there is what I like to call the low information voter syndrome. So what I'm seeing is I find a lot of people come into the coin shop and they've got things that they found listings for, or they saw a YouTube video on. And oftentimes, you mentioned this TikTok character has 1.3 million subscribers. There are people that have really large audiences on YouTube that I feel like they don't add any information or education to the space. It's just um, exactly that. This is this a penny worth $4 million? Is this It's always the kind of gotcha, real exciting. You're going to be a millionaire type information. Have you
Well,
seen?
when you think about it by definition, that is one. It is going to attract a lot of views, right? It's a bonfire or a train wreck that you just can't stop looking at.
Right.
Um, when they're done like this gentleman does, I don't mind them as much, right? Because there's actually something that you can latch on to there and you can say, okay, this is what he was talking about. But yes, it does seem, and I like to call it the lowest common denominator. It does seem like the lowest common denominator is always kind of, they're like moths to a flame, being drawn to this. And so you do end up answering a lot of questions in your shop that truly are just wasting your time. People calling, people coming and showing you stuff. And for the most part, if you handle them correctly, they don't get mad. Although some people still will. It's like, oh, no, 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 you trying to rip me off, man. I mean, I work in a
Yeah.
big city, and you work in a much smaller city. So it's like, but you know what it's like. People
Yeah.
can
We see
be a
it. We
little
see it all the
crazy.
time. All the
Yeah.
time with it. So there's different angles to go here. There's like, of course, we work in shops, so we have people come in and they're getting sometimes bad information, sometimes wrong information. But as far as it goes to the actual hobby, so you got Mr. TikTok, 1.3 million. So here's a guy who probably, I mean, how many people are in the ANA officially? Like 400,000? Is that, I mean,
Well, less than 1.3 million. I know that.
right? So here's a guy who Now, maybe most of his audience is actually there to look at his dancing instead, but at the same time, one way or the other, people are getting in his feed or seeing coin material. So one of the things that I've noticed with some of the modern means of communication, be it YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, or I can combine them all into one phrase. There you go.
Yeah,
You
Utah.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, is that you really do have a new audience. You have an audience that you can reach that is a younger audience. So, um, have you found it all? I mean, I don't know how much you look at demographics. Have you found that you guys are reaching younger demographics through some of your new platforms that you guys are on?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that it is inherent in the fact that the older demographic, the typical coin, audience is just not on the internet like younger people. And by younger, I mean 55 and younger, right? Um, I'm almost 60 and I'm really, really computer literate. So I think that there's a fair amount of people my age and younger who are completely fine with all this stuff. They don't have to have their grandchildren show them how to set stuff up.
Right.
But but yeah, I think that you're going to get a younger audience just specifically because of that, and I think that there is some validity to it. However, I think that the tone and the content of your message really, really is important. And so when Matt and I were first kind of talking about doing this, right? We were looking at the last coin podcast that had been done, and it was done by the ANA, and I think it was called Coin Talk, and it was just really dry. It was these guys. Okay, so this week we're talking about the 1914D. It was very
You're reading
great.
the Farmer's Almanac to
Yeah,
somebody.
well, it's almost like National Public Radio, right? It's like you almost couldn't listen to it. So we were like, we want something a little bit different. Now, you had mentioned about my voice and things like that. I have really kind of evolved. If you go back and listen to old, I was like, and this is the coin show. I mean, doing stuff like that
Yeah.
until I kind of developed a style and figured out what I was doing, and then it evolved. But um, yeah, so that has gotten us a completely younger audience. That has gotten, and I think that the energy is really, really important. If you look at the people that are popular on YouTube, you'll
Right.
find a lot of high energy people. And I think that if we deliver our good message with some energy, so like I always start out the show with some energy, then we kind of calm down and get to talking. Um, but I think that my demeanor on camera is still a little bit, higher energy than most people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to look at it. And one of the things that I'm intrigued at with the whole area of social media and influence is, that's the term that they actually use on YouTube. They use the term influencer or creator, but influencer is a big term. And it's interesting because there's so many different audience points that you see from a demographic standpoint. Are you guys Do you guys target a demographic, or you guys just target content?
We target content
Yeah.
and let the demographics go where they go. Because I think that we didn't set out to do this to create viewers or to gain viewers. We set out to do this to put something else out there that might interest a younger audience, something that might pull a few more people into the hobby. Now, I don't want to take your entire day, talking about me and how I came about this, but the grocery store that I worked at closed. And when they closed, I became unemployed. Well, one of the things I did was I have a marketing degree. So I went back to school at DePaul University here in Chicago, and I took social media marketing courses. And I learned, because I mean, a 25-year-old marketing degree is pretty much useless anyway. They're doing things completely different now. And I learned a lot of social media techniques and a lot of the ins and outs of different media and stuff like that. And I tried to bring that to the show where we tried to expand, get our message out, understand that your different vehicles had different audiences,
Right.
and try and expand it that way. So it's like if you want more women, you go on Pinterest or you go on to Instagram. If you want a younger audience, TikTok, Twitter, you're going to find that to be more the vehicle. Facebook is going to net you a little bit older
Right.
audience, but it's got a really good mix because for right now, a lot of people still use Facebook.
Yeah. Right. Right. I'm trying to bite my tongue here about how much I hate Facebook, but that's a whole nother.
Well, one of the things that we did to kind of get away from the algorithm, because one of the things that all the content creators hate about Facebook is that you put out content and you have people that like your content, and still only a percentage of them will see what you post. And that's just kind of annoying. And then they'll
Right.
see it like 5 days later. So the context isn't good. So one of the things that we did was we created a private group.
Yeah.
And in the private group, everybody sees every post in real time.
Yeah.
So it put Facebook back to what Facebook used to be.
Right. Well, I'm hopeful, that there's just going to be a whole lot of other companies popping up that are alternatives. Um, locals. There's a few that are popping up right now that I think will be good in the long run. But anyways, that's a whole other story. And the point about social media and coin collecting is, reaching an audience one way or the other. I think expanding demographics. We've hit on two different demographics. Can we? What is the glass ceiling? What is the glass ceiling for females in this hobby? Like, I don't know. Do you look at your demo? Have you seen your demographics online? I mean, YouTube puts out demographics for me to look at,
Mhm. Male, female.
and it's that strong 5%, and I don't know if I'm not trying to target to get it to different. Do you think there's room for expansion there that you can intentionally, or it's just like, hey, I think you use the term drawn like a moth to the flame. Is it just you put out the content, whoever comes, comes?
I tend to think that with our particular subject, that's really the way it works.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's anything inherently more interesting or less interesting
right,
to anybody based on their sex. But I do think that look, there is a large portion of our hobby that fits within one specific demographic, and that's fine. But in order to get to that demographic, you have to pass through all these others. So
yeah,
our thought is maybe we can kind of season the ones that are coming up. And look, coin collecting is a rather unique hobby in the fact that most people start as kids, then they stop, and then they come back later in life.
right.
So if
It's a
we can
religion.
sow those seeds, yeah, yeah, kind of, yeah. So if we can sow
And
those
they have
seeds,
their own kids, they bring them back through.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and indoctrinate them.
yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. So so this gets into the subject of the state of the kind of the future of the hobby a little bit. And hey guys, thanks for watching. And please subscribe and comment as that helps the show out. And be ready for part 3 coming next week. Thanks.